considering the number of video streams you can have in the video pod in an Adobe Connect session, I think there's no official limit on the number of streams, but in practical terms, bandwidth will probably become an issue, probably noticeable as you start to reach double digits like 10. Now it's possible to adjust the video bandwidth under Preferences, and if we go on the meeting menu to Preferences, then we select Video, and here we've got a slider, and we see that if we go to High, that would be requiring the highest bandwidth if you knew you only had a couple of, or a limited number of people using the video, where at High you've got 480p, the highest resolution it'll do here, and a maximum frame rate of 20 frames per second. And if I leave it there, I'll say done, and now as I wave my hand back and forth on this other window, you see it's really quite responsive. Now I'll drop down to let's see, what is it? Preferences, drop it down, Video to Standard, which is going to be 240p and frame rate of 10. Alright, it kind of resets. It'll reset on the fly, and I move my hand back and forth here and my hand back and forth there, and see what that is. That's still pretty good. I would probably leave it at standard most of the time. We'll go check out the other two settings. Come here to Preferences, Video, kick it down to Medium, which will gonna be still 240p, but only 8 frames per second. Okay, it resets, and here I'm waving at the camera over here. We see that, and down at this other camera on my own station here, we see that. Okay, and if you really wanted to maximize the number, you wanted your whole class of 10 or more streams, we'll go back here to Preferences, and again Video, kick it down to Low, which is only 120p and only 4 frames per second. I click Done, and it resets, and now as I wave my hand up here, you see you can almost see my fingers because it's not catching my hand moving back and forth. Same thing down here, and as I move back and forth, you see it is kind of jerky, only 4 frames per second, but again you can still see the smile on my face or the grimace when I don't understand. And so that's how changing the frame rate works. One other thing you can do is to switch to film strip mode, which has one big picture and then all of the others are on the film strip below, that if you had more than one showing, you could scroll to the right or left, and you, or I guess the other presenter, can choose which should be the main video window being displayed up there. So this is the one then from my second computer over here that I've made the main frame, the main window. Again, you can click that back on another one to make it the main one in front. Okay, and so you see this still is here at the 4 frames per second, 120p, and it's still serviceable. You're not reading my lips anyway. But if I go back to Preferences and kick it back up to Video mode, Standard, 240p and 10 frames per second, then that's really quite reasonable and probably a good standard to work with. And you can always change it on the fly. If you see people having problems, you can go into Preferences during the session and kick it down. Right?